So I'm Jayme, a Kiwanis, which most of you know, but I am also the marketing coordinator at Hospice of Redmond. So I do a lot of functions outside, a lot of visits to facilities, doctors' offices, and fun social events. Kat is our bereavement coordinator, and this is her first year taking on Camp Sunrise. She's taken it from her predecessor, who was Diane. So I will let you start talking about Camp Sunrise.
All right, thank you. Hello. So Jayme mentioned, like, oh, I'm going to have you come and do a little talk, but she didn't mention a podium. She didn't mention the PowerPoint until last minute. So I'm going to just kind of go with the flow. Most of my work is usually done in a office or a community room with a group of people who are bereaved, or individual counseling. So I'm not used to speaking in front of groups, but I do want to share as much information as I can with you about Camp Sunrise, which is a very important program that Hospice of Redmond has been involved with for almost 25 years. So I'm very honored to be the new director of Camp Sunrise and also the bereavement coordinator at Hospice of Redmond. My predecessor, if any of you knew her, I'm not even going to try to fill her shoes. I'm just going to try to stay in the lane of the path that she blazed for almost 17 years with this organization. So a little bit about what I do as a bereavement coordinator, just because I get that question a lot. So part of hospice is support for the family members who are losing their loved one. And I, as the bereavement coordinator, follow each family who would like to have bereavement support for 13 months. And that can include a spouse or children or multiple people from the family. In fact, I have some people that I'm following that are caregivers for people who were in a facility that didn't have any family, but became very close with their caregivers, and those caregivers are also grieving those losses. So I walk alongside and just provide support and information and resources. Sometimes there are resources I can provide in office. Sometimes it might be a referral for, bigger help than I can give. But Camp Sunrise is a program that's specifically for children who have lost a loved one, and I came on board just in time this year to be wrapping up the planning for Camp Sunrise, which happened on June 4th. This is the first year that Camp Sunrise was only one day, but we were very happy to have it back after a 2-year hiatus, a lot of programs having been canceled. So we provided a day camp this year that included a lot of our regular activities that usually happen over a long weekend. So I'll go through some slides. I'll show you some pictures of what camp looks like and a little bit about what we do. And I want this to be an open forum, so if you have any questions, if you see something and you're curious about it, that's why I put those photos there. So I'll just go ahead and get started here. So first of all, Camp Sunrise, so we listen to feelings of grief. Grief often is not spoken about openly, and people can feel very uncomfortable talking about loss, even though we all go through it. So we listen, we share in the sadness, and we understand how lonely grieving can be, and we help with beginning the healing process. So that might be a little bit difficult to read, so I'll just run through some of the highlights. So our camp was founded 24 years ago with the understanding that every child deserves an opportunity to grieve in a safe and supported environment. And we provide support by professional, trained staff and volunteers. And all of our volunteers go through extensive training. So children are able to express their experiences and gain the skills that they need for coping with their loss. We serve children ages 7 to 14. We focus primarily on people who are from Central Oregon, but we have had people come from out of the area. Camp Sunrise is very well known, and people come from all over. So the program includes expressive arts. We have structured games, music, stories, and other therapies that are designed specifically to support the grief process and to provide tools to help the children navigate their way through feelings that, quite frankly, many of us as adults struggle with. Grief does show up quite differently in children. Usually the camp is located at the United Methodist Camp at Subtle Lake. This year we had it out in Powell Butte at the Diocese of Baker, and it was an incredible venue. So we were very, very pleased with the unwanted change, but it worked out very well. So we identify the children who are going to attend Camp Sunrise primarily through referrals. We get a lot of them through school counselors. We receive referrals from parents that are just looking for help for their children. Maybe they've lost a sibling or a grandparent or another parent. Over 80% of the children who attended Camp Sunrise this year had lost a parent. And also fan advocates, churches, local therapists in the area will reach out for referring their children to Camp Sunrise. And yeah.
So are the candidates, is it a loss due to health issues, or can it be a loss due to like any cause?
Any cause, and it doesn't have to be connected to hospice at all. We have children, car accidents, suicide, long substance use disorder. The list is long. And we did also have some siblings that had lost a brother or sister that attended. So, great question, thank you. And then also our reputation. Camp Sunrise has been around for a long time and provided service for hundreds and hundreds of children. So we're well known. So it's usually a 3-day event, 2 nights camping, and it's a safe, emotionally supportive environment. We provide training for all of the volunteers. We also provide resources for the parents so that they can support their children leading up to camp. Some kids are not like, oh, yay, I want to go to grief camp. So it can be a bit daunting to even get the children to want to participate. So we provide support in that way to try to make sure that the children feel safe and supported to want to come to camp. And then also the follow-up afterwards, because it is, it's very raw, and it can expose a lot of emotions that maybe the children hadn't had an opportunity to even approach before they come to camp. Even if the loss had been more than a year ago, some of them have not processed those feelings yet. And we did also have some campers attend camp this year that the loss was very fresh, so we have to also evaluate whether it's too soon for those kids to attend. So we have very structured and designed art, music, and movement therapies. And we have 1 counselor for every 2 campers. Actually, that ratio was much better this year because we had a lower number of campers. We had 25 children. We could have taken up to 40. But we had 25 kids who attended, and we had 25 volunteers in attendance. So we had a tremendous support staff for the kids. The kids are never left alone. They always have a camper with them. So each cabin, even though we weren't doing overnights this year, we still had assigned cabins or groups that the kids were grouped with, and we had those kids, and then we support staff. So if somebody needed a break, or if somebody needed to go to the kitchen or the restroom or get a snack, or just to have a little walk outside, we always had somebody available for that. And then we provide follow-up, again, for the families as needed. So the volunteers and the counselors come from a very large array in background. We've got school counselors, we've got children therapists, play therapists, teachers, hospice volunteers that have already gone through a hospice training program, and then they just get additional training to work with the children. And then our wonderful staff. Many of the staff members at Hospice of Redmond are volunteer for the program as well. And it is, yeah.
So I need to run.
Okay.
We as a club have been longtime supporters of you guys at Camp Sunrise. Today I felt like this was an appropriate slide for me to stop you on.
The how are we funded?
How are you
Thank
funded?
you.
So, yeah, we'd like to present you with this check. So we'll maybe smile for
Thank you.
Look happy. So that's
We
for
are
you guys.
happy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. Thank you for what
I'm
you do.
going to hand that to you so I don't
Take
set
that
it
out of
down.
your way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was $250,000.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
So the funding from wonderful organizations like yourself. This is how we're funded. So, and the reasons why we're here.
And Hospice of Redmond is a nonprofit organization, so a lot of the funding that we get in for our programs, as well as employees and our nurses and everything is from donations and events that we do to raise more money. So Camp Sunrise is us going out there and really asking, this is a wonderful program, are you able to help? In any way, either volunteer, anything helps us.
Thank you. And we do a lot of events to help to support Camp Sunrise. One of the larger events that we do is at Christmas time, which is listed here as Teddy Bear Tea. It's been going on for a long time, almost 20 years. And we have a tea party. Everybody dresses in their finest, and they get to meet Santa and have a story read by Mrs. Claus. And usually that story involves Cinnamon Bear, who makes an appearance.
Yes! I get to be Cinnamon Bear this year.
One of the first things she volunteered for when I came on board. So, and then also one of Hospice of Redmond's largest events that we do for fundraising for our nonprofit in general is Festival of Trees, and we also have a Camp Sunrise tree to help to support Camp Sunrise directly. And I'm just going to show you guys some pictures from camp so you can ask some questions. I'll explain what some of the activities are. Just to give you a little flavor for what we're doing. All right, so we have a fashion show. During the fashion show, the kids learn about how their emotions and behaviors might show up in their lives during grief. Teachers and counselors or parents will often say, like, oh, my child is acting different. Like, all of a sudden, they've become like the class clown. That very well may be a defense mechanism and a way of coping. So the kids dress up in these costumes, and we talk about all of those different dynamics and aspects of personality and the way that human beings cope with things that really almost seem like we shouldn't have to cope with, but we have to learn. So the silly clown or the angry bully or the crying baby, that privileged princess or the jester, the joker, the overachiever, and sometimes the little devil monster. The kids have a blast during this fashion show. They laugh, and you can also see the recognition on their faces. They start to identify the ways that they have been coping that might not be the healthiest for them. And then we help to provide them some feedback and some alternative skills so they don't have to act out in order to maybe get the attention that they need or to distract from the attention they don't want. There's a lot of dynamics going on there. Power sticks. This is a really powerful activity that the kids do. It's one of the larger activities that has the longest meaning. Diane introduced me to previous campers that were now grown, that had gone through camp before, and they still had their power sticks that they made as children at camp. So what the power sticks are is they are a representation of all of the memories that they have about that person that they lost. We have all kinds of different jewels and charms and stickers and paint and anything you can imagine. And they can sort through and find exactly what represents their thoughts and their feelings about their loved one. And what was interesting for me personally is this year my stepdaughter attended camp. This was her last year to be able to attend. She's turning 14 in just a few weeks, and she was not able to attend after my son died in a car accident. And so some time had passed due to COVID. And it was really, for me as a mom, stepping aside from my role as the director, I stepped outside to take a look at the power sticks, and I didn't know anything about who had made them, and I was able to identify the one that my stepdaughter had made for my son just by the things that she had put on it. It was pretty amazing. So they are very, very personal and meaningful to the children, and I can say that Olivia absolutely cherishes her power stick. This was one that was a tribute to Mom, just to kind of give you a close-up of some of the things that people include. Baked with love, and an angel in my pocket. So, our comfort bearers. Every kid who attends is greeted from their camp counselor with a bear that they keep. Many of them carried them around with them throughout the camp. Some of them dressed them up and put, jewelry on them and designed them for, the person that they were remembering. So they provide a lot of comfort for the kids. Lots of outdoor games and activities. Lots of bonding happens. Some of the kids become friends at this camp, and they stay friends for a long, long time. So I think I know what's going on in this next one. I'll show you another image
So
of that.
these are photos from the camp at Southern Lake.
These are pictures from camp of various years. So each different color of t-shirt represent a different year of camp. It helps us to kind of keep track of what year some of these events happened. So you'll see amongst these pictures are red t-shirts, orange, yellow, green, blue. So these are a lot of years of campers. And I love that he's got the giant bear on his back up here. At the beginning of camp, the kids, so the sleepover camp, they get a pillowcase that they get to put on their pillow for the whole time that they're there. We also gave them a pillowcase at the day camp to take home with them. Those are donated to Camp Sunrise by the American Sewers Guild, and we also have the Central Oregon Quilters Club that makes quilts. Each child leaves with a quilt. And they absolutely love going through and choosing one that's just perfect for them, because there's so many different options. These are memory boats. This is one of the last activities that's done at camp. It's very meaningful and, dare I say, spiritual experience for some of these children. They gather all of these natural materials and they make a boat, and there's a procession down to the lake, and they release them into the water to honor their loved one. These are some more of the memory boats. And the procession, some of the camp counselors are drumming and singing as they make their way down to camp. And releasing the memory boats into the water. This is the Wheel of Feelings. This is another it was very profound experience. All around this big wheel, it's about this big, there's words like bossy, sad, scared, invisible, frustrated, lonely, anxious, mad, all of the feelings that we experience when we're going through grief. And the children will take the strings, start off at one that really jumps out at them. Maybe they've been experiencing a lot of anger, and they will tie that string to some of the other emotions they've experienced in it. In the end, all of these very difficult and challenging emotions end up becoming this beautiful work of art that all of the kids can relate to. And this is that activity I thought I recognized. So this is so fun. During every meal, at the beginning of every meal, there's a lot of camp songs, and one of the songs has to do with preparing for food. And they're doing a lot of motions and muscles for the minerals and the vegetables. It's really fun. The kids just laugh uncontrollably and have a great time, and it's just so wonderful to see that balance of their very pure joy during this time where we're dealing with some really hard feelings. But it's just, I keep coming back to the word pure, because it just feels that way when you're there. It's become a tradition from one of our camp counselors who's been attending camp for a long, long time. He likes to play with his food, and he strongly encourages the kids to do that as well. So we have lots of examples of his food art and some of the kids' food art. And so this is, in fact, there's Jamie.
Oh, yeah, there I am.
So this was taken this year at our day camp. When the kids arrived, they got to choose their quilt, and one of our volunteers had made these beautiful little keychains that were so intricately painted and detailed. I think Olivia went home with a pirate, pretty sure. And the candle lighting ceremony. So towards the end of camp, one of the last activities that they do is we have a very, I would say, somber memorial service that honors the loved one that they're there to remember. And there's a candle lighting. Everybody goes up and they say the name of the person that they're grieving and their relationship and something that they'd like for us to know about them. And they light a candle in their memory. And this is just an example of one of the many times that the kids will get together and talk amongst themselves as a group. And they also have small breakout groups with their camp, with their cabin. And some of the comments that those campers have left with are, the food is great. We had a good time singing the blessing song. The warm showers felt good. I liked the camp musicians, except in the mornings. I've heard some great stories about them getting woken up. We learned a lot about death and how it feels to lose someone. We had a chance to learn about grief and how to grieve. We learned that everyone has a different way of grieving. Making the power sticks was one of my favorite activities. I remember watching our boats go down the river. We lit candles in memories of those we lost, and Camp Sunrise is a good place with awesome activities and nice people. And one of the quotes that I heard as a kid was leaving this year was, "Can we come back and do this next weekend?" Which was just the sweetest thing. And this is Diane, who I definitely wanted to honor. She just retired a few weeks back, and she was a long-time, very well-loved leader of Camp Sunrise, and I'm really honored to be able to take up the helm. And these wonderful, smiling, shiny people are Sean Diaz, who is our camp facilitator. He's a school counselor and has a lot of experience working with bereaved children. He helps to kind of guide the ship. He's the captain of the ship during camp day. And this is our new music director, Amanda Severin, and she was absolutely amazing. And Jamie and I. It was a long day. And a beautiful quote from an author, widow and chaplain. I smiled. I'm not really here to keep you from freaking out. I'm here to be with you while you freak out, or grieve, or laugh, or suffer, or sing. It is a ministry of presence. It is showing up with a loving, patient, non-judgmental heart. And that is what we do at Camp Sunrise. So, any other questions? Oh, yes.
How was the different experience for those that were there for both years, the 3-day camp in the water versus the 1-day camp?
Well, obviously, we are very much hoping that we get back to the lake and having the full camp experience. But we were really pleasantly surprised that the children fully engaged. We weren't sure that warm-up time that they get on the first day of camp and then kind of really getting into the meat of the program throughout Saturday and then wrapping up on Sunday. We weren't sure what that transition was going to be like, but they were all in. They dove right into the activities. They were able to bond and open up just as we had hoped they would.
And the only reason why it was a 1-day is coming out of COVID and not being able to do it for the 2 summers. We just kind of wanted to get our feet wet again and really see the comfort that the parents had coming out of being through the major part of COVID, of having those children away from them and back. So for coming out of that time and having it for 1 day, it was amazing. It was tiring, but rewarding. Our goal is to get back to that entire weekend process again for them, to give them even more time that they need, and we love to, be able to do that for them. So it was a nice start to come out of it, and it was a success that day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, John.
This is not a question, more of an observation in my own experience working with hospice. One of the tragic questions that people have or comments is, I know how you feel. No, we never know how. A lot of times we don't know how we feel. And for somebody to make a comment, they want to do something good. But, just being a presence and listening. When I first went to work for hospice after 60-some years as a pastor, the director said, come into my office first day. And she said, I have 2 words for you. My father is a Presbyterian minister, my uncle is a minister, my grandfather was a minister, and I know how you like to talk. For you, shut up. And when she left to go to a bigger hospice, I asked her to come into my office, and I said, Julie, I have just 2 words for you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that point. We that is part of the training that we provide to the volunteers and that are working with the kids. Things that are less than helpful to say to somebody who's in grief. Certainly, I know how you feel is one of those, or they're in a better place. Oh, that's one of my ones that I really don't appreciate because I would love to have my son here, and I know you would love to be here.
I think really quick, one of the big things too, because this year was my first time attending Camp Sunrise, and attending it, we were told this is what you do, what you don't do. So we had those rules in place as the volunteers and stuff, and the main portion was you don't ask the children who they lost, how they lost, just you let the children come to you. So I was part of the Power Sticks, and which was amazing. And so all I did was walk around with the children, and I had one little girl who everything had to be blue. Her mother's favorite color was blue. I did not ask who it was for. I just was helping her find blue, and then it became butterflies. And as she's putting her little bowl together of all the stuff she was going to put on her power stick, she turned to me, and she was probably 8 years old, and she turned to me and just said, "Do you know why I want this? Why I picked blue?" And I'm like, "No, you tell me." And it was, my mommy's favorite color was blue, and she loved butterflies. And I said, "Well, that's beautiful." And then you just let it go, and the more stuff she chose before going to finalize her stick, she turned to me again. She grabbed my hand, turned, looked at me, and said, "Do you want to know about my mommy?" And I had to take a deep breath, because I'm like, I'm going to get emotional right now just thinking about it. I had to let her talk to me. And the only thing I asked her was, "How do you feel about that?" And it was letting the children come and open up to you, not us trying to bring anything out. If they don't want to talk about it, you don't have them talk about it. That's when the counselors can step in, and they have their little groups that they get together. But there was a few times, even Kat and I were up in this one, that I looked at her, welled up, and had to leave the room. And that's what they ask us to do, is if you're going to start crying, do not let the children see that, because they need our strength. But I got up and left, went on a walk. There was a beautiful little church that's on the property, a little chapel that you can go into, and I sat in there to collect myself, deep breaths, and then came back to continue on. And it was the most incredibly beautiful one-day event I have ever been to. And just, that is one big thing that I promote when I go out. It's like, let's talk about Camp Sunrise, what Hospice of Redmond offers. So
Thank you.
I know I'm going to get emotional.
No, it's okay.
We get very emotional.
Your experience is great.
Where do you get the bears?
Oh, we order them through the bear company that Diane has been ordering them from. I don't know exactly, but I will definitely find out if you want to know specifically.
Well, I'm just curious, do you order, because I imagine you order in bulk and you know how you fund them and that sort of thing. One of the things my mom does, and she's worked in grief for a number of years, she fills them with stuff.
Oh, I love that.
And puts lavender in them.
Oh.
And put them in the microwave.
And warm them up and have the
Yeah.
smells. Oh, that's wonderful.
And
We
that is-
also have
She uses bears that are already done.
Oh, I love
and then,
that.
Like, takes out their stuff and
Well, in addition to that, we have a memory bear program at Hospice of Redmond, and this is for all of our hospice family members. We offer, we have volunteers who will take clothing from the family member who's passed, and they will create a handmade bear out of maybe dad's shirt or mom's favorite kitchen apron or whatever. So yeah, I love that idea, and I think I'm going to pass that one on for sure. I love that. Thank you.
And I know that like a lot of times what she does is she has them put something of that person in the bear.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Well, thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.